Hey, I am Samin and welcome to my channel. Today we will be learning about Kali Linux file permissions and ownership. So let's get into it. So, so first we need to know what are file permissions. So file permissions are fundamental aspects of the Linux operating system, including Kali Linux. So file permissions basically determines who can access files and directories and what actions they can perform. So basically there are three permission categories. File permissions are divided into three categories. So the first one is owner. It basically means the user who created or owns the file, and the second one is group, user who belongs to the same group as the file, and the last one is others, or everyone else who has access to the system besides the owner and the group. So these are the three permission categories, and there are also three permission modes. So this basically means that what a user can do with the file. So the first one is read, and it it basically means that the permission to view the content or a file of a file or list the contents of a directory. The second one is write. This mode of permission can modify a file or create, delete or rename files and also directories within a directory. The last one is execute, and it is denoted by X. This basically means the permission to execute a file as a program or enter a directory. So basically this is an overview of permission categories and permission modes. I will explain them in details in the further slides. So you might ask, why am I giving so much focus on theory? It's because it will help us understand and grasp the methodologies faster, and also will give us a strong basics. So in this slide we can see output of long listing, and we can see the long listing with this command ls dash l. This shows the output of long listing. So we can see here that the dash basically means a regular file and the D means a directory. So if we see in the first there is D, it basically means it's a directory, and if we see it's a dash, it basically means it's a regular file. So these are the modes of the files, and these are the owner as we explained earlier, and these are the groups of groups, and this is the size. This is in kilobytes, and this is the dates, and these are the file names. So we can see all this information by just typing this command. We can set permission modes both numerical way and symbolic way. As we discussed earlier, there are three kind of users: owner, group and others. Each modes can have three permission modes: read, write or execute. So in numeric values, 4 basically means it has the right to read, and 2 basically means it has the right to write, and 1 basically means it has the execute permission. So uh, these are the permission modes which are in numeric. We just need to understand that 4 basically means read, 2 means that write, and 1 means execute. So in the next slide I have added some of my notes. uh, as you can see, every mode can have a 3 sets of permissions. If you see that permission is 777, it means that it has the right to do everything. And how we can set it has the right to do everything. Now you may ask how we can set and change permissions. Don't worry, I will explain it on the further slides. So in the notes we can see that 777 basically means anyone can read, write and also execute. So we need to understand here that 4 read has the value of 4, write has the value of 2 and execute has the value of 1. So suppose a user has the permission of 7, so basically he has the permission of read 4, write 2 and execute 1. So that's how the numeric system works. The read, write and execute totally becomes 7. 4 plus 2 plus 1, as you can see in this picture. And if the value is 5, it basically means that it has the read ability and the execution ability, but it doesn't have the permission to write. So this is how we can understand. So you can see that it has the, if it's 5, it has the read ability and the execution ability, but in the middle one, the right one, it's dash because it doesn't have this ability. And as you can see, the next one is 4, so it only has the ability to read, it doesn't have the ability to write or execute. So it only shows us r dash dash, so basically it can only read. So the next one is symbolic way of permission mode. So the symbolic permission mode consists of basically 3 components. The first one is who. It talks about the user or group to which you want to apply permissions on. So user, G is for group and the O is for others. The second component is operator. It basically defines the operation you want to perform on the permissions. So this +1 basically means to add permissions, and this -1 basically means removing permissions, and this equals to basically means setting permissions. So the third one is permissions, and this describes the actual permissions you want to execute. R, as we seen in the earlier slide, R is for read, W is for write and X is for execution or execute. So now I will just read out the slides of changing permissions, ownership and group ownership. After that I will show you practically how to do all these commands in Kali Linux. So this is about changing permissions. So basically changing file permissions is the fundamental task in Linux system administration. It also allows changing file permissions. It allows you to control who can access files and what actions they can perform. You too can control who can access files and what actions they can perform. So methods of changing permissions is as we discussed earlier, there are 2 methods: numeric mode and symbolic mode. And how do we change the permissions? We use the command chmod, which basically means changing mode. So using numeric values octal to represent permission modes. For example, if we set chmod 644 and this the following the file name myfile.txt, it basically sets read and write permissions for the owner and read only permissions for the group and others. As I've explained in the previous slide, so I think it will be very easy for you to understand how this 644 is working. And in the symbolic mode, the way we can use it is chmod u plus x. Here u is user and plus basically means that it's adding the permission, and x basically means execution to the file myfile.txt. Adds execute permissions for the owner. It basically means that it executes the permission for the owner. So the next one is changing ownership. Changing ownership is the process of transferring the ownership of a file or directory from one user group to another. It is essential for managing access and control over files. So the way we can do that is use the command chown. Use the chown command to change the user of a file or directory. For example, chown new owner myfile.txt changes the owner to new owner. I will explain it in further slides. And the next one is changing group ownership. So changing group ownership involves transferring the ownership of a file or a directory from one group to another. It also allows you to control access permissions for a group of users. So methods of changing group ownership is the command chgrp. So this is how we can change group ownership. So now I will go back to my Kali Linux and show you how we can use these commands, and these theories will be really helpful for you because it has given you a basic understanding of the ownership and the commands we will need to use. So now I'm on my Kali Linux and I'm using the terminal, and let's make it big that so you can understand. Now I'm going to use the commands you will need to understand the commands. This is the home directory. So at first I will create a file here. So to create a file I am using the command touch. My file name is my file and it's in txt. So you can see that it has created a file called myfile.txt. So next we will see permissions. Oh no, I need to give a space. This is the command. As you can see here that we can see all the long listing or the permissions of the files. So as you can see here, there is the file I just created, myfile.txt, and these are the permission modes. So the dash basically means that it's is just a file, and after that I can see that the user has only read and write permissions, but it doesn't have the execute permission. So how can I give it the execution permission? So this is how I'm going to do it. So I'm first going to write chmod u, basically means user. After that I will just use plus, it basically means add, and after that x basically means execution, and after that the file name I want to apply it on. After I use it, and after that I'm going to list the files. And here you can see that the file I created, my file.txt, it has a execution permissions now. So this is how you can change owner permissions. Now I'm going to talk about how you can change ownership in Kali Linux. So this is the file I created, my file.txt, and you can see the user and the group owner is on my name, Samin. So suppose I want to change the ownership of the user. So how I'm going to do it is but first you might need to add a user. If there are no extra user, like you need to use the command sudo add user and the name of the user you want to create. So after that I will just use this command chown, and the name is new user myfile.txt. So it basically means that after using this command, new user will be the owner of this user group, not Samin. So if I type, so you will need to use sudo because it needs root privileges. And after that, now I'm going to long list, and now you can see that oh, something is not right. Sudo chown new user. Okay, now if I output it, now we can see that we have changed the ownership. It's now has become new user instead of Samin. So this is how we can change ownership of any file. So suppose I want to now change group. So how I'm going to do it is I'm going to type ch, might need to use sudo ch group new user my file dot txt. So we can see that here the group is now Samin, but I am going to change it to new user by executing this command. And after that, if I list it, you can see that I have changed the user to Samin and it has now become new user. So this is how you can change permissions and also the change ownership, and also you can change the group ownership. So I hope it was helpful for you, and I will further like to give some tips for security, because security is very important. So I like to give some additional tips. Okay. So the tips for security is use the principle of least privileges. So it basically means that limit the user and system permissions to the minimum required for task to reduce risks, and regularly audit and review permissions. Try to periodically check and adjust file systems according to security policy and user. Implement encryption and access controls. It will secure your sensitive data. Be cautious with recursive commands because it might cause unintended data loss, and backup critical files because safeguarding against data loss, hardware failures sorry for that, hardware failures, etc. is very important. So these are some tips for security from my side. So this is all for today. Today we learned about Linux file permissions and ownership. I will be back with more videos, so stay tuned, keep liking my videos, and please subscribe. Goodbye.